All right, hello everyone. Um, okay, I need to set up the comments thing as okay. Hello everyone, I am Sadaf, and I am, as you've seen the poster, I'm a researcher at University of Tokyo, and I am also an executive member at Youth General Assembly, a youth-led organization in Pakistan working on various social issues. Today, I'm going to talk about storytelling as an art. And it is important because I've been working in the social sector and I have experienced that storytelling has the power to inspire people. And that's why we need to talk about it. Storytelling is more about um, putting human beings at the center and their experiences at the center, basically. So through stories, we connect um, with the emotions of people and we connect to the values of people and their characters. And that's why stories have the power to inspire people. And many leaders use storytelling as a tool to inspire people and get things done. Um, Storytelling is not only for the people in the nonprofit sector or people in the business sector. Storytelling is important for all the sectors. So for example, as a researcher myself, I found out that many researchers, they work on problem solving, but they don't know how to communicate what they're doing, which is great, to the people which are outside their field. And stories can be used to do that. And that's very effective. I have practiced this myself, and that was very effective. So today, what I'm going to talk about is the characteristics of good stories because we have limited time. So today I'm just going to talk about two things. The first thing is about the characteristics of a good story so that you can use it as a tool. And the second thing is how to formulate your story. What are the main features of a good story and how you can use these features to formulate your story. And the second thing is that you can definitely comment and ask whatever you want to ask, but I would prefer answering them all the questions at the end so that I speak what I want to talk about, and then I can answer one by one what you guys want to question. But you can type your questions if you want. Now, the first thing is I have prepared my notes. I'm not good at memorizing things, so I have my notes handy and I'm going to use them. Okay, so let me talk about stories a little bit. So, storytelling is usually used by leaders to inspire and get things done. And it is very common in nonprofit sector and business, but it can be used by all the sectors in my point of view. And I'm going to explain it later today. Stories bring different elements together. So, connection is very important. It's not about listing things like this happened, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. So, list of things which you are doing. But it's more about building connection with people you are talking to and then giving them information while building connection. You just talk about all these things, but you build connection. You show the relevance of what you are doing, because if you don't build connection, you are not able to get support from people. So, talking about the characteristics of good story, the first characteristic is that it has three aspects. The first is logic. The story should be logical. It should not be a fairy tale. Like random stories are never good. So it should be logical. It should have emotional connection with people. You should show that is why is what you are doing is important. Why is it important to support you? So whatever you are doing, you need to tell them that it is important for all of them, not only you. So you need to build that emotional connection. And the last part is the bigger purpose. So you have to show them that there's a bigger purpose. Like, for example, I'm going to give an example here. You have prepared a water filter out of a material, and you know the logical part of it, which is the first aspect. It has logic that you have prepared a filter which filters water. Now the second part is emotional connection. When you will be talking to your audience, you need to tell them that why is that filter important for them. You can tell them by emotionally connecting with them, like these many people in this country have died because they were suffering from waterborne diseases, right? So you have to build that emotional connection so that people can resonate with what you are saying. And the last part is bigger purpose. So when we're talking about that water filter, you need to tell them that if we use this water filter, we can filter this much water and we can save these many lives. So bigger purpose. What is the future? You need to show them the future in the story. So these are the three things which are very important in the story: logic, emotional connection, and the bigger purpose or the future. The second thing is, whenever you design a story, it is for your audience. So knowing your audience is very important. Sometimes the story does not connect to you. Like if you're talking about something, some story, when you're telling a story that might not connect to you, but it has to connect to your audience. So before writing a story or before telling a story, you need to know your audience, like who is coming to listen to you. If the audience is political people or policymakers, the story should be focused on them. You should emotionally connect with them, and it will be different as compared to if the audience is common public or people from common backgrounds. So it is very important to know your audience. The third part is a third characteristic of a good story is it has a clear sequence. So it should not say this happened and then it should jump to the third event, and then it should jump again to the second event. So the story should be in sequence. And that's how you take people through it, one event by event by event. Because if you are telling a story which does not have sequence, people are going to get confused. Now, the fourth thing is the moments of reflection. A good story always has questions. You question people. What if this happens? Or have you ever imagined how many people have died because they were not able to access food or something like that? So these questions, what is the purpose of these questions? These questions actually make people curious, right? So that's what the moment of reflections are, and they may, and when people are curious, they get more interested in your story. So that is very important. And the last characteristic of the story is that don't let people hanging. If you have asked a question, like imagine or think about what happens if people don't do this, or if you have asked a question in the beginning, then make sure that you answer that question at the end of your story. So the story should, if it's starting with a question or if you're throwing the question in the middle, you should answer that question by the end, because you should not leave them, the audience, hanging in the air and thinking about what was she or he saying, right? So answering all the questions is equally important. And this was the last characteristic of a good story. Now I'm going to talk about, I know I have some questions here in the comment box, but I'm going to answer, as I said, I'm going to answer all of them at the end to make sure that everybody gets an answer. So the next part is about the content. How do you write a good story, right? So for writing a good story, there's a sequence, and that sequence has three parts. The first part is the ramp, the second part is the points of discovery, And the third part is the dessert. Dessert means sweet dessert. You can say that. So three parts in the sequence of the story. So when we come to the ramp is about why should people care? This is where the emotional connection comes in. Why should people care? And you start the story with this. So let me give an example to you. So if I will, let me talk about plastic pollutions and pollution in ocean. And for example, if I have built a solution to solve the plastic pollution problem, then I'm gonna use the ramp like this. My ramp, the first stage would be, have you ever imagined yourself being stifled to death by a plastic bag? This is how the species, or this is how the species living in water is facing these days. And then I'm going to talk about how millions of sea life is being killed by plastic, and in this year these many fishes have died, or something like that. So you ask a question, or you shock the audience by saying something which makes them curious to listen to you, and that's where the emotional connection comes in. You start with the emotional connection so that people want to listen to you, right? And that's the ramp. And then you transition from the ramp stage to the next stage, which is the second stage of your story, which is where you talk about what is your project? What are you doing about this? So, my project, for example, I've said I want to talk about plastic pollution in oceans. Then you need transition as well from ramp stage to the points of discovery, which is the second stage. So, when I say that, have you ever imagined yourself stifling to death by a plastic bag? This is what happens to the millions of the sea life these days, because we are throwing plastics in the ocean. And these many fishes have died this year, suffering and stifling to death. And there is where my research or my project comes in, and you transfer to the next stage, which is points of discovery. In points of discovery, which is the second stage, you talk about how are you solving the problem. So you talk about your project. There are three things you're going to talk about in this if you're solving a problem. So the first thing is recap your project. Tell them about your project. So I have built a machine to clean ocean and free it from plastics and something like that. And then the second thing will be describe the key accomplishment, like you accomplishments. So after describing your project, describe what have you done. I have cleaned these many shores and people are satisfied. And the last part is about how you want to grow. Like describe what are the unmet objectives and how you want audiences support. If you want support in the term, it can be in any form. It can be in terms of fundraising, like that's why I'm looking for some funds and some funders to fund my project to scale it to these many beaches or something like that. And that's how you get the funding. However, it can be used for other resources too, like human resources, like networking. I'm looking for networks to scale this solution to other beaches. Or simply inspiration, like I want your support and I want more people to join me to take this project forward. So this is where you call for help. And then you transition to the last part, which is the dessert, the sweet dessert. This is the part where you, this is the part which sticks to people. And you should put a lot of effort in designing this, because many people are will go out and they will stick to what you have said at the end. So, in the last part, in the dessert, you show them the future. So, you tell them, imagine if we clean all our beaches, the seafood is healthy, the sea life is healthy, they're not going to suffer anymore, and something like that. So, you end with a dessert, showing people the future. If we do this, then we are going to achieve this in future, showing them the bigger picture, or showing them the future which is very bright. So that these are the three things which are very important in the sequence of the story. So let me repeat them. The first is the ramp, where you connect and you build curiosity. The second one is a point of discovery, where you explain your project, or where you explain what you are doing or you want to do. And the last part is the dessert, which where you show them the future, and that is going to stick to them. So, and then they're going to offer you support, and they're going to join you, or whatever you want from them. And this is not only for one field or the other. It is applicable. This storyline is applicable to every field. So this is what I want to say about storytelling. However, apart from content, there are two more things which are important. So this is about writing your story. The second thing, apart from content and writing your story, this is the content. And apart from content, there are two other things which are important. First thing is your state of delivery, how you deliver your story. And it includes different things: your body posture, your tone of voice, your gestures, hand gestures, everything. And then the second part is your state of mind. How are you feeling at that point? If you're really connected to the story, or if you really are or want to get things done, you need to throw away the anxiety. And that is what you can practice with time. I'm not going to talk about the other two things, which is the delivery and the state of mind right now. If you want to know more about this, you can definitely connect to me, because we have less time. But today, I think the content part was very much clear. If it is not clear in terms of sequence, I'm going to repeat it again. But if you have any questions regarding the content, how you write your story, please let me know in the comment box. And I'm going to take questions in 2 minutes, in the next 2 minutes. So um, yeah, so and the last part is about summarizing the session. Um, okay, so I will again repeat the good characteristics of the story. So characteristics, as I talked about them. So the good story should be logical, emotional, and has should have a larger purpose. It should be directed towards the audience. It should have a clear sequence. It should have questions or moment of reflections to make audience curious, and it should not let people hanging in the air. So if you make them curious, you should answer all the questions. And then I talked about the content, how you write your story, and the stages in the story. So, and I talked about three stages. The first is the ramp, where you build an emotional connection, and you can start it with a question, or you can start it with a statement, which makes an emotional connection with the audience. And then you move on to the project, where you solve that problem which you said that this is the problem in the first stage. And the second part is the point of discovery. The first part is ramp, and the second part is point of discovery, where you describe your project. And the last part is the dessert. You show them the future. Like, this is how the future will be if we do this. If we work on if we work on my project. So this is what I have to say today. And now I'm going to take some questions here. All right. So Ferdeen Hussein said what we should consider in case of making emotional connection in storytelling. As I said, it is very important to pose questions. Either you pose questions like, have you imagined what happens if what happens what happens to the plastic when we throw it in the garbage, and then make them curious, so they will become curious. And this is one form of curiosity, is one form of emotional connection. Another form is that you talk about something which is very bad. For example, these many children cannot get food. So 2 million children in this country cannot get food. which means that they are starving, they are crying. So you build a picture with your words, so audience can see what you are saying. So build a picture. So these many people are crying, they want food and they are hungry. So this is how you build connection, emotional connection as well. So then they will be curious that, okay, what are you doing to about this, and how are you going to solve this, right? So this is how you can build, and this is in the first stage. You capture the audience in the first stage of your story, which is the ramp. All right, the next question is by Sanjinda. I hope I'm pronouncing your names right. um, can we use these techniques to improve our presentation skills as well? Yes, definitely. I think storytelling is not about telling the story. You can use this structure for your presentation anywhere. I mean, this is a very generalized structure, and if you use this structure, definitely your presentation skills will improve. I haven't spoken about the body language and the state of mind part because of the lack of time. But the content part, definitely that's going to improve your presentation skills. Does storytelling attribute help while giving a formal presentation? Yes, as I've answered before, Shams. Yes, it does help improving your. If you follow, as I said, if you follow the structure which I have given, ramp, point of discovery, and dessert, your presentation is going to improve. Just try it. All right, for Dean Hassan, in storytelling and public speaking, the same thing. Public speaking is a broader term which includes storytelling. So storytelling is included in public speaking. Public speaking can include debates and discussions and simple conversations sometimes as well, group conversations, and storytelling. So storytelling is a part of public speaking. It's not like they're not the same thing, but they are related. So public speaking is a bigger term, and under the umbrella of public speaking, storytelling is one aspect or one part. All right, Ume Laiba Raha. Can I write something like keywords to follow the three steps you made? Yes, definitely. They really help. So I would recommend that you should not memorize the speech, which a speech or story which you want to give, because whenever you lose the track of while speaking, you are going to lose everything, all the memory. I would suggest that you should keep the keywords or key sentences in your mind or in front of you to make sure that you're following the sequence. You can always change your words, but at least you know which sequence, what I'm going to talk about, the themes based on the sequence I've suggested. All right, the next question is by Nafisa. Thank you so much. It has been a great help. Thank you, Nafisa. It was great talking to all of you. Okay, Deepal, Ramzan Mubarak, should we include market validation for our story, a bigger picture, considering as part of the dessert? Yes, because if you're using it for business purposes, we need to do that because definitely, as I said, it's storytelling is not only for the nonprofit sector. We can use it for the in the business sector as well. And whenever we are talking about in the business sector, we need to talk about financials and market, like how are we going to take this forward? How are we going to, and how many profit are we going? How much profit is going? Are we going to earn? And we talk about our market as well. So yeah, if you're going to give this kind of presentation in the business sector, yes, that's gonna be your dessert. And remember, dessert is very important and your audience is also very important. Is there any importance of ice breaking in storytelling? Yes, the ramp. I would not call the ramp ice breaking because storytelling is usually um, ice breaking is with the group of people who you don't know, and you want to interact with them. So storytelling is one-way conversation. You're going to tell your story, and at the end, you're going to take the questions. But ice breaking in the workshops, it's more about getting to know people. So in storytelling, you don't need to know people; people need to know you. So I think ramp is more about building connections. Um, it's not same as ice breaking, but you can call it ice breaking of storytelling, the ramp part, the first part, where you build the connection with the audience without them speaking to you. So it's a one-way conversation in the start, and after telling your story, they can definitely come to you and talk to you. All right. Shams Manover, should we include more than a story or make connections of many other stories in our presentation? Um, Story or make connections to many other stories in our presentation. Um, I think story is usually about um, one thing which you want to address. So, for example, if you're presenting your project or if you're presenting your marketing campaign, if you're presenting your idea, that's only one. And storytelling can be used to um, present that idea or that project or that research. If you will, I think if you'll include multiple stories, that's gonna make it more confusing. So it will be better if you stick to one storyline, and it will improve the quality of your presentation. Yeah. All right. Do we have any other questions? We still have 4 minutes, and we can discuss more. If you still have any confusions, let me know. Right? No. Okay. It Kashvin, is there any online platform available to practice storytelling? Storytelling. There are many courses available on Coursera and Udemy about storytelling. I would recommend you to access them because they're usually very helpful. Um, I did not take any. I got a training in the US from Stand and Deliver about storytelling, and it was very helpful. I think storytelling courses are usually very, very helpful. So you should try going to Udemy or Coursera to access online courses, and they're usually free, so you can just do them. At the start of the storytelling, okay, so Abir, thank you for ideas. Thank you so much. Sanjida, at the start of the storytelling, when we start by asking questions, should we sometimes take answers from the listeners? No, because depending on the time, usually storytelling is about one way speech. So you give the speech and at the end you take questions. But if your storytelling, if the format is flexible and you can take questions, sure you can do that. But the ideal story will be like you should have a flow. You start with this the ramp and ask questions. Make them curious because you will answer that question at the end. Remember that. So uh, while you were going through your point of discovery, the second stage, you're going to answer that question automatically. So if you stop and answer um, the listeners at that point, that's going to break the momentum of your story. So I would suggest that you should not stop and you should keep the flow because you're going to answer all the questions by the end of your story. So, okay. Next question. Tell a story, please. Perhaps I only have 1 minute right now, but I can definitely tell you a story. Um, if you want more suggestions, please feel free to contact me. But I have given plenty of examples, like when I talked about imagine if you are stifled to death by a plastic bag. This is happening with the ocean creatures or sea life. Um, in our world or something like that. So I don't have a well formulated story right now, but I can share some stories with you. Nudge, nudge, mus. Okay, Shams. Shams is saying thank you, ma'am. Oh, thank you so much. Gashwin is saying thank you, thank you. Okay, Mahdi suggest where we study for storytelling. As I said, I think Udemy and Coursera are good platforms where you can find storytelling courses. If you want to study more about storytelling, please go ahead and search for the storytelling courses. Many storytelling courses are free of cost there. Okay, I think time is over. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It was a very fruitful discussion, and I'm so honored to be here and talk to you. Take care, and Ramzan Mubarak. Bye bye.